approach of the 2014-2020 Interreg MED. This is going to be the subject of our first roundtable, How to Survive Climate Change, the Mediterranean way. Just to illustrate this, we thought it would be interesting to have a look at some figures. So we have a slide here. Climate change is obviously already affecting the world, and more specifically the Mediterranean in particular. The rates of climate change observed in the Mediterranean basin exceed those of global trends for most variables. So we have a slide here from the European Environment Agency. I don't know if you can see all the details, but the slide is in the pack afterwards if you want to see that. So there we are. That's EEA data, which dates from 2017. But we're going to talk about this and talk about cooperation on a Mediterranean way. And to do so for each of our roundtables, I'm very happy that we have Sophie is here. Big round of applause for Sophie, who has a very important role of starting off our debates. Sophie. So delighted to have the different partners. So obviously, apart from simple cooperation projects, the Interreg MED Programme has teamed up with communities of projects to foster different kinds of synergies and capitalize upon the results of single projects. That's why we're delighted to have all of you with us here today. Thank you very much for being here. We have all your titles, as you can see on the stage. We're going to start with Efficient Buildings Community, represented by Maxime CACCIUTOLO and Rajko LEBAN. So I'm going to start with you. Can you give us a short description of Efficient Buildings Community's activities, the topics targeted, and your main capitalization results? Can you do that in as short a time as possible? Because we, as you can see, we have to finish this round table at 0, just so you know that the time is there. So, to the point, quick answers. Thank you. Maxime.
Okay, so first, I would like to thank the organizer for inviting us today. So, the Efficient Buildings Community is one of the community of the Interreg MED Programme. We gather 10 so-called modular projects dealing with capacity building, raising awareness, designing and testing our innovative tools, and financing solutions. The idea of this community is to build synergies and to co-construct next practices for efficient buildings in the Mediterranean. This community, it's about almost 100 partner organizations in the Mediterranean, from Portugal to Cyprus. And we are working mainly on urban and peri-urban areas. We decided that it would be valuable for our project to gather public sector and private sector. Both are very important to tackle this challenge of energy efficiency in public buildings. In this community, as I said, we gathered 10 modular projects, and we identified at the very beginning of the adventure 3 groups in the community. A group dealing with financing issues, financing questions, a group developing innovative and technical tools, and also a group dealing with schools, because schools are public buildings but with a particular use and particular users. About the target, the topic targets, and I just would like to say a word about the target groups. Local authorities, so mainly cities, are obviously the main target groups of the community, but we also decided to knock at the door of the European Commission, because if we want to change things, we have to address to different levels, the local level, the regional level, national level also, and the European level. Those modular projects, so as I said, they're working on financing tools, schools, and they developed several tools, let's use this word, tools during this 3-year project. For example, a joint action plan, because there is a strong need for a coordinated action in the Mediterranean. Also, they developed toolbox. By tools, I mean technical tools, obviously, but also governance tools, because a lot of local authorities, they need help help to design new strategies to achieve their near zero building strategy idea. Also a set of best practices, because it's one thing to develop innovative solutions, but it's also something very important, and the European Union calls for that. It's very important to identify already existing best practices, and then to create a set of those best practices for local authorities. Awareness campaign, of course. So that was some examples that the communities of the community's results. This community has been supported, let's say, by the MEDNIS project. I'm a representative of the MEDNIS project. And this project was built to help those modular projects in their capitalization strategies. So we developed 4 technical papers based on the technical results of the modular project, of the 10 modular projects. And based on these 4 technical papers, we drafted 2 policy papers. Those policy papers will be used for the European Commission to help them also to take into account the Mediterranean specificities. And one manifesto. This manifesto is we will target the national level, because this manifesto has been drafted following 4 national debates we organized, because, as I said earlier, it's very important also to have the national level on board with us, because sometimes cities in some countries, some European countries, have also to work with the national level. And finally, which is, I think, a great achievement in terms of capitalization for the community, is that we have been invited by the DGNR from the European Commission to become, let's say, an actor of a new Euro-Mediterranean platform on energy efficiency and renewable energy. So, and we are, in this platform, the only actor dedicated to the work for local authorities. They are all dealing at the national level or the European level, and we're the only one dealing with cities. So I think it's a great achievement, because now we have on board all those different levels, and we're working with all these different actors.
Thank you very much indeed. Maxime, another point.
Yeah, just one thing, because it's really important. What I'm saying, it could be very general. So please go on our website, where you can find a lot more details about our adventure, our experience. And today with me there is Mr. Rajko LEBAN from Golea, one partner of the CISMA project, one of the modular project within the efficient buildings community. And I think it's very important to have him with us today. And I will leave you the floor in 2 seconds, because he will talk about concrete results, because I think that's what's important. That is what matters in this event, is to understand what are the concrete results.
Give us your website.
efficientbuildings.interregmed.eu.
Okay, and don't forget Slido. Also, if you want to ask, because at the end of the round table, I will take some of your questions to all our panelists. Now, concrete examples. Rajko, can you give us a few concrete examples of success?
Good morning. I would like to welcome you on behalf of Golea, Goriška Local Energy Agency, an energy manager in 21 municipalities in Primorska region. I don't know, I prepare also the slides. In western part of Slovenia, and we carried out several energy audits, prepared documentation for deep energy retrofitting. We also carried out many activities through the European project. For example, in 2013, we started with activities on the field of energy performance contracting through the MED project, MED strategic project. In this financial framework, we are a partner in 3 MED projects, CISMA, Energy, and Maestrale. Please go continue. One of the main problems for deep energy renovation of public buildings is definitely lack of public financing. In addition, energy savings are lower in a Mediterranean climate, and consequently, there is lower interest for energy performance contracting, lower interest by ESCOs, energy service companies. The second problem is small towns and municipalities with lower number of public buildings, so do not arise much interest by ESCOs companies. This type of projects have a long payback periods with very low or even negative internal rate of return, but weaknesses are challenging. And on the next slide, you can see the challenge has been settled out with the SISMA study project from the first MED project generation. 8 partners from 6 countries. We have limited time, we have limited money to establish a financing and user-friendly tool to evaluate resources of energy efficiency investment with lower payback in 4 types of buildings: schools, gyms, offices, and tiled house. And Italian partner APE was the responsible partner for coordinating the activities for development of SISMA set subsidy evaluation tool. Other partners had an important role in adopting and develop of tool on its countries. So Golea has continued to test public partnership option for renovation of municipality building. In order to reach the major impact, we carried out training workshops in municipalities about the possibility of tool use, and it was present also at the Slovenian Ministry of Infrastructure, which is charge of energy refurbishment of state-owned buildings. In Slovenia, the ministry guidelines set a 7% internal rate return for public-private partnership projects, and on this basis, we also carry out of PPP test. In this financing perspective, on the recommendation of the European Commission, the Republic of Slovenia has reduced subsidy from 85% to 40% and opened up the possibility of implementing PPP projects, energy performance projects. The basis model is 40% public and 60% private input. As I said before, a PPP test is also mandatory so that the share of energy performance contracting projects against public procurement has grown up from 49%, please go.
Tell them next, just say next slide.
Next slide.
Next slide.
Grow up from 49% floor area in 2016 to 95% floor area in 2018. So we do a lot of in this field in Slovenia.
As we can see. Is that it?
No,
okay.
It's not. No.
Oh, it's not finished. You do even more. Okay.
When we discuss with ESCO company, we saw that the limit for investment, the minimum for investment is over 3 million of investment for ESCO companies. So due of this, we have upgraded the SISMA tool through the energy project that we can handle multiply objects together, even for more objects for several small municipalities, and look to find combination that go through the PPP, private partnership. For example, the last case, when we deal with 4 buildings at the secondary school center in Nova Gorica, firstly, we added, the test was negative, and then added 1 more buildings with individual efficiency measures, interesting for ESCO, and now we are going forward with energy performance contract projects. And the last slide, I don't know.
I think we have a problem with your slides.
Yes, because on the last slide is also contact of my colleagues, Martin Murovic, which can give you additional information about the upgrading SISMA tool.
Okay.
So if you contact us, we can send all materials.
Well, how do we contact you? Because we can't see it on the slide, but how do we contact you?
On the web or on the mail.
But which web?
Info golea.se.
Olea.se.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. A big round of applause for some concrete examples here from Slovenia. Obviously, what we're talking about here is cooperation. Cooperation is a very important way to achieve effective solutions. That's why we have Mrs. Mercè BOY ROURA, and you're going to tell us which strategies have been developed by Green Growth Community in order to face climate change issues.
Thank you.
If you have slides, just say next slide. It makes it easier for them.
Slides,
you don't have slides. Perfect.
So the Interreg MED Green Growth Community counts with 14 modular projects, and our main aim is to hope for a greener economy in the Mediterranean. So facing climate change, we see that it's a reality, even some people still neglect it. But climate change poses a significant risk to our society and also to our planet, so we really need to act in order to mitigate the effects of the climate change. So there are different strategies to face it. One of the most well-known is to switch to renewable energies, but that's one topic that other communities, as Cynthia will explain, is working with. But also there are other strategies, such as the circular economy strategy, that has been really important in the past years, and it has been reflected in the European policies. So a circular economy strategy requires a holistic approach. That means that there's a need of transforming on the way that we produce and we consume goods, so to have a sustainable production and consumption of goods, and also the way that we manage waste. Circular economy also needs to consider the several dimensions of sustainability, which are environmental, economic, and social, and also the different scales of intervention, so going from local to global scale and vice versa. This implies that there's a real need of a strong cooperation among different types of stakeholders. And why I'm saying that? It's because the Green Growth Community counts with several projects with different types of actors, and the best way to deal with it, we thought that it would be to work on thematic working groups, and the topics of these working groups were related to the Circular Economy Action Plan, to the key priority areas of the Circular Action Plan. So we will be aligned to the strategies that were really happening, right now at European level, but also at national and regional level. So we created 4 thematic working groups, which are resource efficiency, green and smart public services, waste prevention and management, and competitiveness and innovation. So the different modular projects selected the group that best fit to their project and work together towards producing finally policy outcomes that are in the form of white papers and policy recommendations. I'm going to explain a little bit about the thematic working groups, what we did in each one of them. The first one, as I said, focused more on sustainable consumption and production, specifically by enhancing resource efficiency, water and energy, in the Mediterranean agri-food sector, but also in urban areas by applying the concept of a smart city. The second thematic working group promoted green public procurement in the framework of sustainable consumption and production as well, by which public authorities seek to acquire goods and services with reduced environmental impact through their life cycle. The third one was on prevention and management of waste, and it provided solutions to reduce both inorganic and organic waste from the agri-food sector, mainly, and to select the best available technologies to deal with the management of this waste. And finally, the fourth working group worked on the implementation and assessment of different solutions to promote competitiveness and innovation of SMEs in the Mediterranean region, and to emphasize the environmental and economic benefits of new and innovative business models. All the white papers and the fact sheets related to the white papers are already available in our new online platform, the capitalization platform, that you can find it in interregmedgreengrowth.eu.
Perfect. Okay, thank you very much. We can see a big round of applause. I think you can encourage these different initiatives. So obviously there have been some green initiatives that we wanted to talk to you about, but obviously energy efficiency is a very important issue for climate change, and that's why we are delighted to have, I think you've come from Mexico originally, but you're here, it's Catalonia, Cynthia ECHAVE, and you're going to tell us about the Ecosystemic Transition Unit, or ETUs, and how they can participate in the effort of climate change adaptation in the Mediterranean.
Yes, thank you. Yes, as well, to thank the panel and the order. In our occasion, I think that it's worth it to explain you a little bit how we address the horizontal, the capitalization activities from the renewable energy community. So in our case, it's the community is gathering 6 modular projects. So they all are related to promote energy, renewable energies in some different ways. So what we identify is that right now at the European level, we have a very strong legislation in terms of different packages, strategies that are boosting the energy transition. And now we have they give it the floor to national level, so now we are having advances on the national plans for energy and climate. So what we identified is that there's a clear gap of integrating energy as well with territories, because this is the way that we can finally implement and arrive into those local or regional levels. So in that sense, what we focus on was also how these different projects contribute to at least 4 pillars. It was land use planning, obviously climate change, energy transition, but also disruptive business models, for example, that are very related as well with green economy and circular economy. So let me show you a short video, and then I will explain you a little bit more about the ETU.
Well, the world is facing a lot of changes, and they are becoming global. We are now in the time when climate is changing, obviously.
We have about 12 years' time in order to change our energy system. We will need to work horizontally.
Since now, the use of our territories has been done with a very irresponsible way. So we need to really bring out strategies that have more an ecosystemic approach. As a society, that it's interesting and it's needed to have this collaboration, not competition, but collaborative working groups.
I dream of a green community. If we work together, the Mediterranean could be the pilot project for whole Europe.
It's not too late. If we start soon enough, it's an opportunity.
Thank you. Has a nice music. Okay, so I'll explain to you because it's actually the way that now we are focusing for the next stage of the project. It's to boost this ETU initiative because we believe that we need to help territories to find out governance models. And that's in the framework of a European project. We find out that in 32 months, we can be able to help them to identify these 4 components that we understand are the key aspects in order to have this multi-level governance from the local level and also to help them to link it as a transnational initiative. So for us, there are like 4 main values or principles that we want to get further. It's first of all, the ETU initiative, what it wants is to promote the territorial equity. And this is the sense of having an equity balance between the rural areas and the urban areas. We need necessary collaboration between them, but in a smarter way that we have done until now. Social innovation. Why? Because for encourage fair energy transition, we need to highlight the value of the local level, but also from the people and the empowerment from citizens that we need. Just to say that Europe is facing around 113 million people in risk of poverty, and most of these people are allocated in rural areas. So this is really relevant to have because if we are talking about a fair energy transition, we have to deal with how can they afford the transition. For that sense, we also agree with the green economy. So renewable energy should load and should be plugged for a green economy. And finally, to have the commitment and cooperation. So if you also want to have more information about the ETU, you can address as well from renewable energy project from the Interreg MED website.
Thank you. Gracias a usted, Cynthia ECHAVE. Gracias. Now, obviously, energy, which we've been talking about, lies at the very heart of the climate change issue, and it's the main greenhouse gas emitting sector, accounting for more than 54%, as you can see on this slide, while transport accounts for 25%. That's EU 2017 figures, how the urban transport community should address this issue. That's why we're delighted to have Oriol BARBA. Can you tell us something about transport, please? Yes.
Well, I'll try to be very brief because I think... Can you hear me? Yeah.
I think we can probably hear you. Speak again, say something.
Hello? Yeah?
Yes.
Hello. Okay.
Perfect.
I'll try to be very brief because I think it's important to save some time for the Q&A and for the steps ahead of new horizontals.
Yes, so please continue to send your questions. I think we're starting to have some on Slido.
I'm representing the urban transport community. The GoSam project was led by the city of Malaga, and as MED cities were partners in this project, and we will be leading the next phase, so that's why one of the reasons why I'm here. We were relatively a small community in terms of modular projects. We had 7 modular projects, around 70 partners. And this created a certain paradox, but because within the Interreg MED ecosystem we were relatively small, but there are tens of initiatives at European and Mediterranean level leading with transports and sustainable mobility. So that forced us from the beginning to create those synergies between the work we were doing inside the community and the already existing experiences, and that challenge, which will be the core of our activities in the next phase, forced us a bit to generate synergies from the very beginning. We worked, I would say, at 2 different levels. First at the level of planning and policies, and here we work with the promotion of sustainable urban mobility plans. That was one of the main axes, and we had modular projects that were specifically tackling that issue. And then we tackled at in a second level, let's say, the question of tools and specific solutions. And to that end, the objective was to gather through physical compendium like this one, the Handbook on Sustainable Mobility Area. It's one of the results of the project, but also online through the through the best practice platform medurbantools.com that we created a specific section for urban mobility. Here I would say something that maybe it's not very politically correct, but when speaking about best practices collection, it's not about collecting them, but about people, entering and reading them and using them. And this makes a big difference between the two. Somehow you can implement the activities of a horizontal project and failing totally in the objective of the project, because you can organize your seminars, you can organize your conferences, people attending, but unless those results you're presenting are not absorbed or are not perceived as useful by the actors, then it's very difficult to achieve the results of the project. So that was one of the obsessions of the consortia during this 2.5 years, not only to implement the activities, but also generating this momentum so actors implement the activities that the specific tools and objectives that we were presenting. I lost them. Oh, no, it's already working. So we interacted quite a lot with, as I said, European initiatives like LTIS, Polis, Civitas, etc. And we succeeded in organizing also activities with the southern and eastern partners. As it was mentioned this morning by Mr. Curcio, one of the challenges is how to interact with the southern and eastern shore of the Mediterranean. And I would highlight as a specific activity one high-level training we had in Barcelona last June, gathering between 22 cities from different shores of the Mediterranean, that we had the opportunity to invite them and generate those synergies. This was maybe a specific activity, but I think it paves the way for further cooperation, not only during the second phase of the horizontal project, but also during the next programming period in which the interactions between the north and the south should increase. And we will definitely support that kind of idea. Well, we can find all the information in the urban transports website within the Interreg MED. I don't know exactly, but you can Google it. It works as well. And well, saying only that all these community building activities in this relatively small community, as I said, of 7 partners, most of the projects are already finished. So in the next phase, we will essentially working on capitalization and creating synergies, because this community building component is essentially over with this project. Thank you.
Okay, gracias, Oriol BARBA. Now, obviously, change can only happen if all these different aspects are worked on together, and that's particularly true when it comes to biodiversity protection. I'm sure you saw the recent United Nations report in May that we're eroding the very foundations of our lives, but it also says that it's not too late to make a difference if we start now. So that's why we're delighted to have Sonsoles SAN ROMAN. I think you've been working on this for 3 years, and you will tell us what the major achievements are of the biodiversity protection community in about 5 minutes, if you could. There we are.
Yes.
Big challenge, but I'm sure you can give us the main achievements.
Yes, thank you very much for the opportunity. First of all, I wanted to say that biodiversity protection is not only about protecting single species or single places or single habitats. Biodiversity protection is about protecting the natural resources that sustain all the projects and everybody that is sitting today in this room. Taking this into mind, I think it was a hard job for us to make everybody understand that we're connected. We're part of this butterfly effect. Whatever you do is going to affect me somehow, somewhere. I'm glad to see the green growth, renewable energy, all the communities are trying to address this, because if we're together, we're stronger. We've done little exercises like the greening our guidelines, trying to make the events more sustainable, or let's see, produce less waste and so on. And climate change is one of the issues that we've been dealing with in our community, but that's only one of the threats that the Mediterranean is facing. The socioeconomic aspect is something that we want to address as well, because based on this common understanding that whatever we do is going to affect everybody, I think there's a better way, a better path to put some of the tools and solutions in action. Our community is made of around 11 projects, around 200 institutions, a mix of research, policy and management, concerning protected areas, but realizing that protection doesn't limit action to these treasures for biodiversity. If we want to protect our natural resources against overfishing, against overdevelopment on the coast, but not good management of waste and resources, we need to get a holistic approach, and we will need to work inside protected areas, outside protected areas, with urban communities, with rural communities, with everybody. With activities in the sea, with activities in the land, because whatever you do inland affects the sea and the other way around. Taking this into account, we realize, okay, it's a hard job to try to convince everybody, so let's see how many layers we can reach. So we, as a community, we looked at the policy targets for the period that affected the Mediterranean. We've been working hard with the United Nations Environmental Programme, the MAP program, Mediterranean Action Plan. We've been collaborating also with the Blue Med Initiative, DGT Research, trying to bring all these kind of good results and good findings from the environmental science community to the policy arena, so they can be understood that there's the basis is there, research is there, but we cannot wait much longer. I mean, we need to act now. We cannot keep researching for something that is quite evident. Either we act together or we're going nowhere. So our idea has been to try to influence policy with good practices and management. Again, Oriol is a challenge, I know. There are many ways that we can do things together. So we've implemented several kind of local workshops, let's say, with the Region Sud. We had one focusing on Posidonia meadows, and I can announce, I suppose, it's not my responsibility, but there will be a post-BMED 2, which is the second phase for one of the projects in our community that worked on this issue as one biodiversity component helping prevent coastal erosion and promote better fisheries also in the area, protecting as a whole, let's say, the ecosystem. On that side, we believe that bringing this Mediterranean community together to do local examples or bring our results really to the people and explain them one-to-one is the most effective way. Our immense reports and long 400-page documents cannot be read by most of the people because we don't have the time. We have too much information arriving in our inboxes, so we need to be clear, concise, and go straight to the point. I'm glad to see as well that we had our final event for our project Panacea in Malaga a couple of weeks ago, and we organized the signature of a common declaration of principles, the ecosystem-based management declaration, and we had very varied organizations supporting it. We had 4 of the regional activity centers of the United Nations that came to sign, and they're ready to take action and move within the limits of each institution, of course. We had universities, we had the municipality of Erceg Novi in Montenegro. We had the network of Mediterranean protected area managers signing up also to build the capacity to look at funding options to make these solutions sustainable. And this is only the beginning. This was just agreeing on the common principle for action. Phase 2 is going to be more focused on pilot cases, and we hope that we'll have more opportunities to look into the details for other communities to make it better. So we prepared also a little video to try to transfer this common understanding on what the ecosystem-based approach is about and what cooperation should be based on. And perhaps we can see it together. Yeah.
United for effective actions to protect the Mediterranean. The Mediterranean's diversity of plants and animals, biodiversity, is an amazing gift to us. They play a crucial role in our lives. Wetlands, rocky shores, sandy beaches, seagrass meadows host an amazing variety of life, which are all part of an interconnected ecosystem. This Mediterranean ecosystem is part of our daily life, and it provides essential goods and benefits like clean air, water, and healthy food. However, overexploitation, pollution, Unsustainable fisheries and climate change are affecting the balance. Human activities have become a major threat to our sea and to our daily lives. We need to act now. Many Mediterranean people, social organizations, companies and institutions are well aware of this need. Our community, over 200 partners in the region, has worked for 3 years to create a common base for our shared goal. We have practiced a constant dialogue, exchanging experiences and knowledge, linking science, management and policy actors. We have discovered that solutions to protect our environment need to be designed beyond borders, free from self-interest and short-term economic gain, and have then created the Mediterranean Declaration for an ecosystem-based approach. Our declaration is an important step to protecting our future. Its main points of action are to acknowledge the value of and threats to the Mediterranean, to engage in dialogue and cooperation with all economic sectors for a sustainable future, to exchange experiences and good practices to influence better policies and practices, to activate cooperation mechanisms for effective biodiversity conservation and ecosystem management. Sign up and share our declaration for the Mediterranean today, because together we are stronger and more effective. All together for a better Mediterranean.
Thank you very much indeed, Sonsoles. And I totally agree. I was listening to you, and it's often a problem. We have too much information and not enough information. For example, I was thinking just before coming here, yesterday I was in Paris, and I always have my television on to see what's happening in the news, and I go out for half an hour to do the shopping, and I just don't know if it's better to turn the television off and then put the television on, or if it's best to leave the television on, and it's very difficult. And I'm a journalist, and I host things about international conventions on this, so it's very hard for consumers. We want to help, but often, as you say, we have too much information, and we don't have enough information somehow. If somebody could just tell me it's better to switch it off or it's better to leave it on. But otherwise, like me, we just panic, maybe. Let's go to Montenegro, because obviously nature doesn't respect frontiers. We're delighted to have Mrs. Ivana Stojanovic, representative of the Ministry of Sustainable Development and Tourism of Montenegro, who'd like to say how Montenegro is cooperating in these different initiatives.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's on?
Just speak. Yeah.
Yes, first of all, it's my pleasure to be here with you today, and thanks for your question. Well, first of all, maybe I can say as an example about the project which is a follow-up of the biodiversity community group, and which is Panacea 2, let's call it that way, and we will be partners in this project. So yes, at the Mediterranean level for Montenegro, the cooperation has been for years very crucial, and many activities have been implemented, which really contributed to the environment protection. Just to provide you maybe with some context as to then answer concretely to your question. We are the country, of course, contracting party and signatory to many regional, international, global conventions and multilateral contracts, but also a country which is in the process of the accession to the European Union. So there are many international obligations to be fulfilled, and of course our national endeavors, what we have in our laws and our national strategic action documents. So how to, address all these different obligations? Well, first, from the national level, in the context of biodiversity, I can just tell you quickly that we are working on the establishing of the first MPAs in Montenegro. As a Mediterranean country, of course, that is a very important for us, but not only on the establishment, on the establishing also an effective management of the established MPAs. And as we all know, that's been quite a challenge challenge for many countries on how to really sustainable manage the natural resources and of course, how to protect, but also which activities are sustainable and how those MPAs can be used also for other purposes. So, of course, on the management models, etc. So I will not go into too many details, but what I want to say that cooperation at sub-regional, regional level, and having the opportunity to share best practices and experiences is really crucial for us. Especially taking into account these ongoing processes. So we see the cooperation and the possibility to participate in Interreg MED project as a really good opportunity for that. Also, what I was insisting, why not me as representing our ministry and our country, when we were talking and discussing the new project is also to have the opportunity to implement concrete activities in the countries, which means if it's possible to also have field service, data collection, because I think that for all countries, but I can talk about Montenegro and I'm sure also for other accession countries which are in the accession process to the EU, really collection of good quality data and its interpretation is of crucial relevance also because often national fundings or budgets are not enough to fund all these concrete activities. So we are using all the opportunities and really cooperation under Barcelona Convention, Mediterranean region, under Interreg project is contributing a lot to all these really important national obligations.
Okay, thank you very much indeed, Ivana Stojanovic, from that perspective from an accession country, Montenegro. And we're going to end our roundtable. I think we're in French. On va s'exprimer donc en français pour parler du projet Panama Red avec Kim Ann Kennybol ainsi qu'Amparo Montant. Donc je vous donne la parole et si vous pouvez nous dire comment la question du changement climatique est prise en compte donc dans le projet j'arrive pas à le dire.
Panoramed.
Panoramed. Merci beaucoup.
Oui,
je ne sais pas pourquoi c'est difficile à dire. Panoramed, voilà.
Parfait. I don't know if the microphone is working, it's okay? Yeah. Donc,
contre le menton, comme ça. Si vous mettez contre le menton, on vous entend très bien. Faites pas comme ça, comme ça.
Voilà, donc bonjour. Donc je travaille en fait pour la région Sud Provence-Alpes-Côte d'Azur, qui est partenaire du projet de gouvernance Panoramed, donc aux côtés de 20 autres ministères et régions de la rive nord de la Méditerranée. Et dans le cadre de ce projet, on a lancé depuis 1 an déjà une démarche assez innovante, expérimentale de mainstreaming, avec 6 partenaires institutionnels européens. Donc je suis aujourd'hui accompagnée d'Amparo Montan, qui fait partie des experts qui nous accompagnent en fait dans le cadre de cette démarche. Et donc ce sera une présentation à 2 voix, avec d'une part, donc je vais vous présenter en quoi consiste la démarche de mainstreaming, en quoi est-elle innovante, et Amparo présentera en fait des résultats concrets, donc dans le domaine qui nous intéresse, qui est celui du changement climatique. Voilà, donc un bref retour sur la notion de mainstreaming. Donc le mainstreaming, donc Curcio l'a évoqué en fait en introduction, c'est une des formes les plus poussées en fait du processus de capitalisation et ça peut avoir vraiment un rôle clé dans le changement des politiques publiques sur un territoire, puisqu'on va ici chercher à faciliter le transfert des résultats de projets, donc en l'occurrence dans notre cas ceux du programme Interreg MED, et pour les transférer vers les politiques publiques, donc cela à l'échelle locale, régionale, nationale ou européenne. Donc, dans le cadre du projet Panoramed, on était intéressé en fait à travailler sur la future programmation européenne, le post-2020. Donc du coup, on a choisi de travailler avec 6 autorités de gestion des pays européens. Donc, je vais les citer en fait brièvement puisque certaines d'entre elles sont présentes dans la salle. Donc on a le ministère des Affaires maritimes et de la politique insulaire de la Grèce. On a la région Émilie-Romagne en Italie, la région des Pouilles en Italie, la région de Valence en Espagne, la région Sud Provence-Alpes-Côte d'Azur. Et on termine avec le ministère des Affaires européennes du coup de la Slovénie. Donc 2 mots sur la méthode. C'est vrai que c'est une démarche qui est intéressante puisqu'on change de paradigme ici. On a un processus qui est vraiment orienté sur la demande. On ne va pas travailler à partir du point de vue des porteurs de projets, mais on va se déplacer pour essayer de partir en fait des besoins identifiés par la demande institutionnelle du coup. Donc concrètement, on a travaillé en fait, on a fait un gros travail d'analyse en fait de plus d'une centaine de projets de coopération territoriale européenne sur les 2 thématiques phares de Panoramed qui sont la surveillance maritime et le tourisme maritime et côtier. Et donc d'autre part, on a travaillé à l'identification en fait des institutions qui vont pouvoir récupérer ces résultats. Et le processus de mainstreaming vraiment se joue entre les deux, entre donc d'une part ce qu'on appelle les givers et de l'autre les receivers, pour vraiment faire correspondre en fait l'offre de projet et la demande institutionnelle. Donc comment on s'y est pris? On a développé une série d'outils méthodologiques comme des plans de transfert par exemple ou des cartographies de compétences, avec également des activités qu'on a pu mettre en place comme des réunions bilatérales entre des porteurs de projets et des institutions. Et voilà, et c'est vrai que ce qu'on peut dire de cette expérience, c'est que vraiment l'accompagnement et le coaching sont vraiment des éléments essentiels en fait, pour arriver en fait, à mobiliser les parties prenantes sur un temps assez long de travail. Donc après 1 an d'expérimentation, on est en capacité du coup de préparer un rapport de recommandation sur la démarche de mainstreaming pour permettre à ceux qui sont intéressés de pouvoir du coup s'engager dans cette démarche. Voilà, donc il faut être court, donc je vais passer la parole en fait à Amparo Montagne à côté de moi pour qu'elle puisse illustrer mon propos par un exemple concret avec la région de Valence. Merci.
Thank you very much, Ivana. Thank you. Yes, a concrete example of what we have been doing in the Panoramed project. I would like to report on what the Alter Echo project did in the framework of this mainstreaming experiment that we took up together with all the partners just mentioned. The Alter Echo project, well, in this case, was very much focused on the development of tools to help the owners of touristic apartments be adapted to climate change, or adapt their renovations, adapt their apartments to climate change. And in this specific case, well, the Alter Echo lead partner, in this case, so it was one of the partners of the project. It's located in the region of Valencia in Spain, and I had the pleasure to follow the experiment together with them. What they did was to select 2 main outputs in their project. So one was the tourist accommodation design guide, to help the owners of these apartments. And the second tool was a self-assessment questionnaire that they also prepared to help all the partners, the owners of these apartments to renovate their apartments and to do that with view of the adaptation to climate change, also in the aim of making sure that the renovations take care of the energy efficiency of these renovations. They also gave details and examples on how to, for example, set up small-scale renewable production of energy, of electricity for heating, cooling the apartments, etc. So they were very concrete tools that they developed in the framework of this project. The partner, in this case, the lead partner of this project, was very much interested in making sure that the outputs of this project were going to be followed up, that were going to be sustainable in time. And they found, of course, the support of the region in this respect. And this is where they found out that, well, mainstreaming was useful for them. They found out that mainstreaming would allow them to make sure these outputs could be sustained, well, would be kept at regional level and would be further developed because, of course, they stay at regional level. They are taken up by the region and they can be further developed. So far, they have 2 main achievements. One of them was, well, the fact that the region took up the recommendations in a regional act, so in regional legislation. This is already there, so the recommendations are already there for all the owners of the Valencia region for them to use. And the second one is something that they are doing at the moment, is to try and make sure that the local authorities in the region, they are also taking up these recommendations. In the case of Spain, many of the competences to implement all these renovations of apartments, they are of the competence of the municipalities, and this is why, well, the mainstreaming to the local level is key here, to make sure that, the local regulations and legislation, is there taking up all these recommendations. And they organize a series of meetings with the representatives of the local level, of municipalities, both political and technical level. And they already got, for example, the interest of one municipality, in this case it's Gandia, interested in taking up these recommendations in their local regulations. So this is another achievement that they got, and of course they're not stopping here. They are continuing thinking about how to make all these outputs still more sustainable. And of course we get to the financing aspect that was mentioned at the beginning of this panel, how to finance these renovations, because financing here is the key to sustainability in this case. And so they keep thinking, also together with the region, on how to really make sure that these renovations can be financed or supported financially. And they are thinking about how the owners of the apartments could get, for example, low interest rates to make these renovations, or other kind of financial support by means of probably a financial instrument. These are thoughts that they have in mind. And of course, if they do this, they will need, of course, the support of the region, because a financial instrument is quite a big thing. They are also thinking about other ways of making all these outputs sustainable, thinking about business models to be created, etc. Of course, this success story of mainstreaming has not been an easy path, so it has involved hard work on both sides, the project and the region. And also there's one thing that is, the relative short duration of the project also is a limitation when you want to mainstream, when you want to take all the outputs further. Of course, you need time and you need a project in this case. But in any case, the good thing about this example is that the project and also the region, they had a clear vision of what they wanted. They wanted sustainability of the outputs. They saw that these outputs were worth keeping at regional level, and they are getting there. So they had a context in which this was possible. Of course, we also supported and followed the process, but we saw this two, let's say, visions confluencing here. And we know that the vision, or probably the context, or the supporting tools are not always there for all projects, but we know that in the majority of cases, the outputs produced by all the projects in MED, they are worth keeping at regional level. And this is why we see the need for both projects and regions to have the tools to help them really make this output sustainable, be taken by the regional local authorities in order to, promote their sustainability and make sure all these outputs are taken by the regional authorities. Because, what we think, and I think we all think, is that regional policy needs the food from the project, the outputs from the MED projects, in order to enrich regional policy. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Amparo Montan. We have 10 minutes left. I hope you've been sending some questions. Any of you, please feel free to answer these questions. You've been asking questions on Slido. Let's have a look and see if there are any questions that we can have. If we could have a look at the questions. No questions are going to appear. There are none. No. I'm not sure if we can't show the slide or if there weren't any questions. Let me ask you a question instead. How important do you think it is? We're here, we're networking, that's why we've created this app. Everybody's going to talk to people in the breaks and so forth. To what extent is it a network of skills which is necessary to build up? We have a question now. But anyway, let me ask you this question. To what extent is it a network of skills which is necessary? Is that easy to create on a Mediterranean and European level or not?
Yes, sorry, I was looking at the question. Now, regarding for how to decarbonize
Okay,
Europe.
let's deal with this question then. Decarbonize Europe is a great
sorry.
challenge. How can project results be transferred and spread? Can you give an example?
Yes, no, because I feel that we can have an answer. For example, in our case, as I was explaining, we are aiming to have this ETU initiative, but it's more with the aim of mobilizing this local empowerment, because it's true that probably we have these upper legislations, but it's hard to then, especially in a small villages or small municipalities. So I think that a way to transfer, it's needed different layers. So we tackle know-how transfer, and this is to be available to access all the information, all the tools and methodologies that our community already have done. But also, there's another layer that it's interesting, and it's how these technicians, local authorities, also understand these tools, and they can be and be easygoing using these things. This is really relevant because once that you see the useful power of these kind of outputs, then it's more easier. And then by the other side, citizens. I think that they have not be underestimated, because we have increased the social concern about this.
Okay, anybody else about decarbonisation? Yes, please.
Yeah. First? Yeah. No.
Yes.
Well, and especially about the second question on how results can be transferred and spread, and to give an example of it. And one of the things we got from the Interreg MED Green Growth community, that it happened very recently, and we are very happy to announce it today here, it's that the Interreg MED Green Growth community got the UFM labeling. And that means that we received the endorsement of the 43 countries that are involved in the Union for the Mediterranean, and acknowledge the potential of this community to have a direct impact and bring benefit to the citizens of the Euro-Mediterranean region. And this labeling will also help us to advance on cooperation in the field of green economy in the Mediterranean, but also to increase the potential of transferring and capitalization of results in several other regions. So that's a very concrete example on how we can do that.
Maxime?
Still on the same question, how can project results could be transferred and spread. We call for that in our policy paper and in our national manifesto, First, we should take into account the local needs and interests, because if a local authority doesn't have any interest in implementing your tools, they won't do that. So that's the first thing. You have really to take into account the local situation and the local needs, the local interest. The second thing is you have to give local authorities simple information, because often the problem is the lack of knowledge, and they don't know where to find this knowledge and how to implement new tools or solutions. And the third central thing for me is training. You have to train decision makers, political decisioners, because otherwise you can't do anything. And actually there's a fourth point, and I agree with you, Cynthia, you have to involve citizens, because when there is a pressure from citizens, then local authorities will commit to those projects. And
what is the way of involving citizens? Simply by listening to them in demonstrations, or by them using apps, or what is the way to involve them?
I think you have several possibilities. As I said, I mean, now you have social medias. I mean, look even at those Friday demonstration in the whole Europe, the young people. I mean, this young generation, they're they're in the first line, you know, and that's crazy, because we didn't do anything in a way, you know. There was this lack of information I was talking about. It's the same thing for local authorities and citizens. For years, we didn't really inform people about climate change, global warming, and so on. But youth people, they just grab the information by themselves. And social medias are, to me, that's a wonderful tool. So you don't have to do a lot, actually, because citizens now, they involve themselves. So you just have to use this flow now to work on that.
Okay. Regional policies make progress at different speeds. That's very clear to see. How can MED cooperation help push the laggards, the slow entities who may sometimes be reluctant to change? Does anybody want to say how we could encourage those who don't want to change? What are the means?
With cooperation.
Cooperation, the kind of thing we've been talking about? Yes?
But the MED cooperation, and I would talk about the Interreg MED program. It's the only program, a European program, with this architecture, you know, these communities, these horizontal projects, model projects, and it was quite new, and I think it's something very valuable for the European Union and for the regional cooperation, thanks to this program. It was not easy at the very beginning of the adventure, but now we can see results. We are cooperating together, all the communities are working together, we are organizing common events, and this is a concrete example of how Mediterranean cooperation could influence that, could some push the laggards. So I think this is a good example, and I know now that other European programs, for example the ENI program, they are working on that. They are creating the same architecture, so we should keep that.
Amparo Mantan?
Yeah, I fully agree, and I also think this is a reality. I mean, this question is a really good question because there's sometimes, and we need to be aware of the context. Regions are sometimes overloaded with so many things to do that they don't really have the time to see and apply all the changes that the Interreg MED projects can bring to them. And making them aware of what the Interreg MED projects can do. This is the first thing, so that they know what can be done. And of course, think about how we can help these regions in really taking all these results made by the projects. I know there are some resistances. There might be some resistances because of this overload of work, but we need to try and see and think about other tools, innovative tools that we can do to really get them into this path of change.
Okay, and we have 1 minute left, and it's perfect. There's a final question. Can all panelists give one key word to answer the question, how to tackle climate change in the MED? It's perfect for a conclusion from all of you. You have one word. I'm not sure we're going to have 10 different words, but who wants to start? Which words would you say?
Cooperation.
Cooperation. I think you're all going to say cooperation. Action.
Organization.
Organization. Organización. Muy importante.
Transversality.
Pardon?
Transversality.
Transversality, okay?
Synergies.
Synergies, okay?
Change of behavior.
That's 3 words, but it's important. Change of behavior. Behavior change, okay?
Realism.
Realism.
Support.
Pardon?
Support.
Support. Mutual support. Well, that's what we're going to do. Anyway, you have finished exactly on time. There we are. A big round of applause to all panelists. Stay there for just 2 seconds. So obviously, in order to tackle the challenge of decarbonisation, to see it as an opportunity and to make up for time lost, I think the important thing that we get from this panel is to strike while the iron is hot. I have a few things to say before you leave. We now have a coffee break. So during the coffee break, there is a photo exhibition right outside on the left. As you leave in the foyer, please check your app, the floor mats. You will see 35 projects of photos of all topics, and we will be giving, it's very important, shh, we will be giving 3 awards. So you have to vote for this. It's the Social Media Award, the Public Choice Award, and the Jury Award. We really need you to vote on the app. And we have not only 1, but 2 surprises during the event. One of them will inspire you to keep working for a more sustainable Mediterranean, and the other will give you a sneak peek of how our life would be if Europe didn't exist. So anyway, I think you all want to drink tea and coffee. Thank you very much indeed. Gracias. Evcharisto. We now have a coffee break.